Welcome back to He's a Giant, a pod about all things college football and all things Giants football. I'm your host, Sal, with my co-host, Monty. How you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. It's been a rough fallout from the last game. Kind of losing one of the guys who's kind of the heart and soul of this football team, and Cam Scatterbo, and the Eagles, winning a game, kind of belt the ass in a game that we really kind of needed a victory to get some hope in this season. So we're kind of full on draft mode now, man. I wonder if other people are too, but that's where I am.
We are absolutely on full on draft mode at this point. I mean, we've been in draft mode,
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping that people would not need to think about it for a little bit. We're here. I mean, yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about the game. It sucked. We thought we could get a win after what we did a few weeks ago. Got beat up. The only few things I'll mention are this, and I think they're worth mentioning. And everybody else has said it, but number one, this didn't fully determine the outcome of the game, but that was the worst officiating I've ever seen in the NFL.
Awful.
By my count, I think it was about at least a 20-point swing in points. Which is ridiculous.
Probably led to Scatterbo getting hurt.
Right. There's a lot of sequence of events that happened as a result of those awful calls. I've never seen anything like it. Specifically the tush push. I mean, Kayvon finally is someone who figures out the tush push. I mean, it's fourth and 1. You either are stopped and you don't have forward progress, in which case the play is dead and it's Giants ball. Or if you're not calling forward progress and you're letting Jalen Hurts lean forward and he pushes the ball forward, Kayvon just waits and just grabs the football away from him, which is fantastic. First of all, what an amazing play by Kayvon, right?
Like great game that should have been even better.
Like he held the line, saw Hurts lunging, and just ripped the football out of his hands. I mean, that should have been a highlight play people were highlighting all week, saying this is how you stop the tush push. Instead, it became this is why you have to now ban it because that was so ridiculous.
Yep, and I think that play itself is going to get tush push banned. I mean,
I hope so.
The reasoning was ridiculous. It was just yep, that quarter of a second where he didn't get the ball pulled away from him, but he also had the ball over the first down. That's when we blew it dead, not when the whistle went.
Right, awful. All that said, the Giants are a paradox. This is a pretty talented team in some ways, and a very barren roster in others.
Depth is awful.
It's got some really promising components to the team. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, unfortunately before his ankle broke.
Brutal.
Good. Godspeed to him. Good luck. Hope you get healthy quick. We need you back next year.
Fingers crossed. No infections.
Right. And you got guys like Kayvon and Burns, Abdul Carter, playing well. Cordell Flott playing well. And then you have just guys who are just dogging it. I didn't even mention the O-line guys. The O-line guys are pretty solid. Obviously AT and Illuminar, but I mean, everybody else in the O-line is kind of they're not very talented, but they're holding their own. But you have the Darius Slaytons, the Theo Johnsons, the Bobby Okereke, Darius Musau, the Tyler Nubens, the Deontay Banks. There's just guys who are just
on a football field.
He shouldn't be on a football team in the NFL. And that's that goes
unless
to their planning.
Special teams only.
Yeah, I mean that's what he was drafted to do. Yet somehow they thought he was a starting or at least a quality NFL linebacker. I mean, there's just such a paradox. They have some really high-end talent, and then they have guys who shouldn't be on a football field, and then result is this mess. And then you have the promise of Jackson Dart and what he brings, and it's all just driven to the ground by really awful coaching. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say, especially on the defensive side. Shane Bowen should have been fired after the Dallas game. Should have been fired after the Denver game. Should have been fired again after this game. And they're just like, no, it's fine. We're just going to ride with this guy. Let him keep sinking the season. We're not going to let anybody else try to work with some of these young talented guys like Nubin and see if they can get them right. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to let the same shit roll out week after week, and it's going to be the same results. We're putting up points, man. At least with Scatterbo, we were putting up a lot of points. We'll see what happens going forward. But, I mean, if I told you before the season started that this offense, we're going to put up 25 to 28 points a game, like once Jackson Dart gets in there, and we're going to play 14, 15 games with Jackson Dart with him putting up like in the 25 to 30 point range a week with the defense we have on paper, what would you have said our record would have been?
I would have first said Jermaine a homer, and then I would have said that we're probably like a 10+ win football team.
My prediction was 10-7. I mean, obviously I was being crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
I was being a homer and I was enjoying it. But my theory of the case, Monty, if you remember, was it's points for versus points against. And I think that with better quarterback play, this is at least an average NFL offense in the 22, 23 points per game range. And I think this defense should be above average and be in the 20 to 21 points per game range. And that should add up to a lot of wins. That was my theory, right? I had the first part. I was actually wrong on both accounts. I underestimated the offense producing on the first part because I couldn't have imagined what Jackson Dart is doing with what he's got, especially with Malik Neighbors gone and Cam Scadaboo's impact. But I think all of us way overestimated what his defense would be. And that's, with the talent they put into it, I don't know how that doesn't get you fired. I guess it will eventually, but they're not doing it in season, and the season is just pissing away.
We've had some bad defensive coordinators. James Betcher is one to remember. He was really awful. I don't know if I've ever seen a defensive coordinator do less with more. Like there's some guys who couldn't make something out of chicken, couldn't make chicken salad out of chicken shit, but he has fucking like diamonds and he can't do anything with them.
Yeah, it's a problem, man. It's a problem how poorly coached this team is. But anyway, here we are at 2-6. No Malik Neighbors, no Cam Scadaboo. Paulson Adebo is hurt. Week to week, Javon Holland, week to week. We don't know when these guys are coming back. It's kind of getting ugly fast, and we're going to just have to see like how the next few weeks go. I can easily see them ending up 2-9. But at the same time, with Jackson Dart, I actually believe they can find ways to win games that you don't expect them to throughout the year. So it's still worth tuning in. It's not like years past. Like now, I still want to watch to see can Jackson Dart get a win? What can Jackson Dart do? Like that's the exciting part.
And I want to win. Like it's not like years past where I'm rooting for a loss. No, I want to see Jackson Dart like turn this into a winning football program.
Yeah, it's it's worth watching. We'll see what they do. Anyway, that in mind, we got the Niners coming up. Justin Pennick, our friend from Talking Giants, posted. He did a great episode for those who didn't listen to it. You should tune in for his episode yesterday where he talks about the fate of Shane Bowen and Brian Daboll. And he goes through a lot of data, as Justin likes to do. And I clipped up one part of it, which I'm sure people have seen by now and heard the clip. But I almost like spit out my coffee in the morning when I was listening to this. And the clip basically was that when teams run up the middle against the Giants, they're averaging around 4 yards per carry, which is league average, right down the middle, 16th or so. But when they run outside the tackle, teams are averaging 7.9 yards per carry. 7.9 yards per carry. That's 2 yards per carry more than the next worst team. We're obviously the worst team. I think the Bears are the next worst. We're 2 yards per carry worse than them rushing to the outside. When teams rush to the outside, that's awful.
Kyle Shanahan is salivating right now at the thought of that.
Mr. Outside Zone himself with Christian McCaffrey. Yep. I mean, on paper, this should be just a beatdown in the run game. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is not a matchup you want with that kind of production on your defensive end.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, everybody plays so fucking soft on this team. The linebackers are bad. It's the defense is light up front. It's a brutal combination.
Yep. And the guy that's getting all the heat this week because our friend Carl Banks went at him is Dexter Lawrence, which was, I was like, okay. You're calling out Dex. I mean, I think you have a much more visceral reaction to Carl Banks's, attack on Dex as a lot of people do. There are other people like Walt from NYG Weekly who kind of is kind of like, well, yeah, call him out. He's not playing well, and I think there are different camps of this. But one thing I'll say is I think it's my view on this. Maybe I'm the moderate on this. I think it's very fair to say Dexter Lawrence is not performing anywhere near what we're used to seeing him perform at. I think there are probably reasons for that. Number one, he clearly doesn't look healthy to me. That brace on his elbow is massive, and I think it's affecting his hand fighting and his ability to win with some of his raw strength.
Mhm.
Two, he might still not be in perfect shape. Like he missed all the camp. He didn't do anything until the games really started. And three, they're using him off. They're not lining him up at his natural position, much at all. He's around like 47% of the time he's playing nose, and 53% he's either at 3 tech or playing, opposite the tackle. I mean, so I think all these things are kind of conspiring to diminish his impact. That's my view.
And one thing I want to point out about what you just said there, because I know when you've said that in the past, I say, like, I get what you're saying, but Dexter Lawrence had like the best season of his career last year. I thought it was interesting. Bobby Skinner posted some stats today and basically went in his win rate for the last 4 seasons. And it was like 25%, 20 to 25% the first 2 years with Wink. And then it's actually higher this year than it was last year, with 2 years under Shane Bowen, where the usage is not really using him as much as a nose guard. Now, like, don't get me, no, the difference is, the pressure rates and things like that were much better last year. He was more dominant. He was turning those wins into bigger plays, and he's not doing that as much this year. But he started to not win as consistently when they made that switch, and it's continuing this year. He's just not converting that as much into pressures.
I mean, I'm looking at the same numbers. I don't know if I'm looking at the same thing you did, but sure seemed to me like his pressure rates and his win rates have gone down quite a bit with Shane Bowen.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a lot of it is kind of reverting back to what Patrick Graham did with him. This is what Patrick Graham did with Dex his first few years. Like almost anywhere but nose, Not that he's not playing him at nose, but it's just not enough. And I think you're wasting the talent. That's what he does. When you have somebody who is so, truly generational at a position, just leave him at that position. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish by moving him around so much. Just leave him there. I don't know how you can't build a defense around a guy like him who's so disruptive, just playing straight up nose tackle, that the entire offense has to game plan around it. Now you move him off that, and you turn him into like a generational impact player at a position into just a really good tackle, right? And I think you're doing the other team a favor by doing shit like this, and that doesn't take away from Dex, but it takes away from the team. And I don't know. I feel like that's not the guy I would go after at all. I get why people are frustrated with his production. I'm sure he's frustrated with it, but there are some people who are not even showing up to work on this team. I get it. He's a leader and you want to see more, but I mean, it's hard for me to criticize a guy who's doing a good job, who's probably hurt and not playing his natural position, who's been there for this team for years, when there are people out there basically collecting a paycheck and not doing a damn thing.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about the whole Carl Banks thing and what it led to with everybody talking about trading Dexter Lawrence is crazy to me. It's led to all these things. I just think, I made the comparison today. It reminded me a little bit of, ironically, what Carl Banks pushed back of and went against when there was that whole like rant that Sal Licata did on Kayvon Thibodeau and how he's not doing what we drafted him to be and things like that. And to be fair, there was some things that were justified in what he was saying. It was, he wasn't winning as like consistently and things like that as you'd want a high pick to do, but he was getting the sack numbers and things like that. And Carl called him out on it. And it's funny is now Carl's went on this whole rant. And I don't disagree with what necessarily that the idea that Dexter Lawrence isn't playing up to what he's playing before, but this rant just went so over the top and made waves that were so unnecessary that just led to Dexter Lawrence getting jumped at his locker the next day because, Giants legend said that you're not respected. Like he knows better to like that than to use those types of words in this media. He knows this media better than anybody else. And he knows how these beat reporters are going to react to that. To say people don't respect Dexter Lawrence is fucking insane. It's insane thing to say. You can say that he is not playing up to his level, but he is being double teamed at one of the highest rates in the entire NFL. And despite that, some numbers aren't there. He's third among interior defensive linemen in pass rush or fourth for PFF pass rush grade, and he still has a 13.5 win rate, which is the highest on our team. Better than every single one of our edge rushers. That is a higher number from the interior defensive line position. It's not supposed to be higher from that position. He is still a damn good football player, even though he's not this ungodly. When you look at these charts, he's fucking top right and everybody's bottom left. Like, he was ridiculous, but it's still good. Like, people just are not used to him just being good.
I think my take on it is, as somebody who grew up in the 80s, watching those 80s Giants teams that Banks was a star on and seeing the Parcells way of doing things, this is very much out of the Parcells playbook of how to motivate a player. Like, Parcells would do things like this, where he would go to his best players and say, you might as well not even show up on Sunday because that guy's going to kick your ass. And I don't think you have a shot. Like, he would say shit like that and almost demean people during the week to kind of get him riled up to perform on Sunday. And I think he was good at it. It was effective. He was very good at playing that psychological game with players. I think there's a little bit of that in this. I think from Carl Banks' perspective, that he wants to, kind of light the fire under decks. I just wonder how effective that message is coming from a non-coach, somebody in the building, and especially in today's era of players, and things are just different. I don't know if this is going to impact Dexter Lawrence's play. I know some people think it's going to light a fire under him. I think Dexter Lawrence is just going to be Dexter Lawrence. I think he
knows he's good.
Right. I mean, could it piss him off a little bit? Maybe, and maybe enough to do a little bit more, but that's assuming that he's not doing his all. I don't think that's the case. I think I really believe the guy's just hurt, and he's playing a little bit out of position. I think when you add those two things up, that you get what you're seeing.
Keep in mind, he didn't start the season with the elbow brace. He added that, he added that for a reason.
Right.
You can say he's not hurt.
That elbow's not right.
Telling the truth.
And when you watch him on film, he's not able to extend his arms like he used to. Like that was a big part of Dexter Lawrence's dominance, right? But he'd get his hands into people's chest, extend his arms, and he was just bullying people backwards. And if he's not able to do that the way he used to, it's not the same level of power that he can generate to dominate. And look, when you have a great player like Dex in a game like football, if they have a quote down year where they're not quite themselves and it's because of injury, you know what you do? You deal with it. You've got a great player. You're like, all right, he's not himself right now. We're gonna let him get right, and we're not gonna shit talk him. We're gonna ask other people to step up, and help him. And anyway, it was just a weird interaction. I mean, I didn't think too much of it in the beginning, and then I saw the reactions, and Dexter Lawrence obviously wasn't too happy about it, but we'll see what it translates to.
The one thing I'll say is, if this was an idea to light a fire under Dexter Lawrence, then why the fuck aren't you doing that ever with anybody else? You went out, coaches. The coaches, defend Shane Bowen to death. You went and defended Kayvon Thibodeau, which again, I was on his side for, but you weren't okay with the media lighting the fire underneath Kayvon Thibodeau's ass, if that's the case? Like, because it did, honestly. Kayvon is a type of person who reacts to that, and he defended the shit out of Kayvon. We're not going on rants. I'm not saying he doesn't criticize other people, but there's a difference between criticizing people, and criticizing's fine. Saying Dexter, if he said, Dexter Lawrence, you're not playing to the level that we know you can, nobody would have asked him a question about it. Yeah. It's that he went on a rant saying nobody respects him. And there's a big difference. Why is there no rants about, hey, Darius Slayton, you're a captain. Be a captain, Darius Slayton.
Well, we could have a whole other episode about Darius Slayton and some of the guys on this team that I've kind of reached my limit with. It's not that I think they're awful players or anything, but I'm just kind of tired of some guys, and he's on that list of people that I think that I'd like to see the Giants kind of just graduate from in the offseason. Well, in any case, we are about 20 minutes in, and let's get into this, man. Like, this is a good position group. I mean, our secondary has been terrible other than Cordell Flott. I think that coaching is playing a big part of that. I think there's a lot more talent there than we're seeing, but it is no doubt that right now, as it stands, that the Giants have to start thinking about prioritizing cornerback either in the free agency market or in the draft coming up. I don't know if they can feel comfortable with what they've got right now, especially with Deonte Banks looking like a complete bust. So this is a pretty good class. Like, I mean, week after week, we're going through these players, and I'm thinking, okay, I thought this was supposed to be sort of the off class, right? Where 27 was like the loaded one. But it's not a bad class, Now, I think one thing we'll get to, and we noticed in this class, again, we picked 5 guys that we just want to review and go over with you guys, is how like specific some of the utilization of some of these players is. Like, they are like, and there is versatility, but a lot of these guys are like specialists in college, and they're talented and they're projectable, but you really got to project in this position at this point. Like, it used to be that you see a lot more like, usage in zone and man, off man, like press man. Like, I find like some of these guys, like in the systems they're in, they seem to play only one way. I don't know if you felt the same way watching them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with some of these guys, especially some of the guys we're going to talk about later in this episode. But I think some of these top guys were a little bit more versatile, but
Yep.
depends on the guy.
All right, why don't we jump into it? We got 5 guys for you. We both have our own thoughts on these guys, but I think honestly, we're going to have very similar kind of likes and dislikes here. So why don't you start with the guy who we graded out at the top of our 5?
Yep, actually ended up tied with the next guy we'll talk about, but we'll get into that. So,
but I think we both agree that he should be the one listed as number 1.
I like them both a lot, though. But let's get into the first one. The first guy we're going to talk about here is Avieon Terrell, out of Clemson. He is 5'11", 180 pounds, so he's kind of a lighter frame, but he is the brother of AJ Terrell. So obviously, there is the NFL bloodlines there. And this is a guy who was part of the Westlake State Champion 4x100 relay team, posting 100-meter times in 10:97 to 11:33. Really good athlete, and that shows up on tape. But let's get into some of the stuff I had on him. High motor competitor who plays with a chip on his shoulder and brings intensity snap to snap. If you want a guy who is just going to go out there and battle and is going to get in the face of guys, talk his shit, and is going to be a physical football player, despite that size, like Avieon Terrell is one of those guys. Explosive click and close ability, trigger downhill with urgency and confidence when breaking on underneath routes. Really good click and close, who can really make plays on almost any ball. Elite athlete with long stride length and outstanding makeup speed, allows him to recover even when momentarily out of phase. Saw that in multiple occasions where he's just out of phase and finds a way to make up. He has there's just these long legs with the strides where he can just glide downfield. Very fluid mover, transitions effortlessly through his pedal and hip flips, really no stiffness. Natural ball skills. I think a lot of these guys we're going to talk about, there's a lot of ball skills in this class. That was something that stood out to me. And Avieon Terrell is one of those guys. He has natural ball skills. He played wide receiver in high school, and I think that shows up when you watch. He has like wide receiver like tracking and hands at the catch point. Tacks the ball aggressively in the air and shows a knack for forcing fumbles when tackling. It's another thing he's great at. He's always trying to knock the ball out, just an aggressive football player. Great reaction time and route anticipation, reads route stems and triggers early and closing windows. He's impactful in run support, capable of slipping blocks and making plays in the backfield. And I think a scheme versatile athlete who has traits suited for both off-man and zone. And I think he could even do some press man stuff. It just might have to get his weight up. And I'll say his discipline is trending up. He's reduced his penalties significantly from 2024. I believe he had 8 penalties in 2024, and so far he only has 1 on the year. So for some of my negatives, I mean, the discipline definitely part of that. You can be over aggressive, that can lead him to bite on double moves or can draw penalties downfield. That light frame can be an issue with some of these larger wideouts, especially in press. His tackling can be inconsistent at times. You can lunge or rely on shoulder hits instead of wrapping up. And his footwork can get sloppy at times, particularly in press or when transitioning out of breaks. But he's such a good athlete that I don't think it ever has been an issue for him. But it's something that he'll definitely have to clean up when he gets to the next level. You just got to look for those things. Yeah, well, what was your thoughts on Avieon Trail? I know I had a lot there.
No, you got it all. You know what I kept thinking of when I was watching him? He reminded me so much of Devin Witherspoon a couple of
Yeah,
years ago.
I could
Did
see
you think
that for
that?
sure.
I mean,
I
yeah, go
don't know if
ahead.
I thought it, but when you were about to say that, I'm like, I bet she's going to say Devin Witherspoon.
Right. But Devin Witherspoon had that
Mhm.
just that dog mentality, right? As a cornerback, like he played aggressive downhill all the time, but
Definitely.
was still that elite athlete that can turn and run with anybody and cover just about anybody and was physical at the catch point. Kind of the full spectrum of traits you're looking for in a corner. I do think if there's any negative, it's going to be his size. He's a little undersized, and it doesn't show up a ton on tape in college. But when you get to the NFL, I do think that his size could work against him a little bit, and he's going to have to probably learn how to gain a little weight and play a little bit heavier. And look, we're going to say this about a lot of corners, I think, as time goes on, a lot, especially come combine time when these guys are focused on their 40 time, they all shed like 10 pounds while they're training for their 40. They're going to look light, but in real time, he is going to have to bulk up a little bit over time. He's still pretty young, so I'm not too worried about it, But right off the bat, I think this guy, like, he can play inside, outside, like you mentioned. He can play everything. I can just see him starting out in the NFL as like this elite nickel corner who can be used in run support and turn and run coverage and just be awesome. But I really think the guy can.
Witherspoon did.
Hmm?
That's what Witherspoon did.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I think he can be. It depends on where he goes, but he's just so good at everything. I mean, I really love the guy. I think you can't teach what he has in terms of mentality, right? The way he plays football is a unique temperament, which I think is essential to playing that position well. So I really liked him. And even though we had a tie with the other guy, I felt comfortable saying, let's give this guy the nod as the first one we discussed. So yeah, I mean, I really liked him. You want to get into this guy's grades?
Yeah, let's do it. And sorry, DK, I looked. I can't find his arm length, so we'll have to wait on that.
All right. I don't think all of my grades are registered here, but yeah, I think we had. All right, whatever. All right. So first category we're going over is speed, which obviously is one of those traits that's going to matter a lot to making sure that cornerbacks are actually going to translate to the NFL. He has that elite type speed. You see it on tape. I think he's going to test well. We both gave him a 4. Strength, that's the ability to not only press up when you're and jam people at the line of scrimmage, but also use his strength to take down tacklers, shed a block, things like that. He's very good despite his size. He plays very strong. We both gave him a 4. Man coverage, he's real sticky. I mean, the guy can run with anybody. We both gave him a 4. We have identical grades on him here, by the way. I think zone coverage, he can play off and hand off. I don't know. There was not a lot of matching that I saw, but when I saw it, he was really good at it. What did you think about him in zone?
I thought he did play pretty well, a pretty good zone. Like I said, like you said, he played really good man, but I thought he was a guy who, he wasn't quite as good, but I thought he had pretty good instincts to play it.
I agree. You mentioned the ball skills. We both gave him a 4, above average there. Run support, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 5 here. This is the only place I differed. I just love the way this guy played the run, man. I mean, he is a physical football player. He's a heat-seeking missile going after the ball carriers in the run game.
Yeah, I can see where you came from on that. It's just hard for me to give anybody a 5, and I definitely think with his size, he's going to struggle at the next level to more than he has been in college.
That's fair. Blitzing, we both gave him a 3, and instincts, we both gave him a 3, although I could have given him a 4 here. I mean, overall, my grade came out around a 3.75, yours at 3.62. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who we think is like already probably an above average NFL cornerback and teetering on the edge of being a Pro Bowl caliber type player.
Yeah, I just fixed our grades. I did have one missing for you, but they're fixed now.
There you go. All right. Good player, man. Let's go on to number 2. Well, let me see. I'll pull him up here. So number 2, this should be no surprise to anybody. He and Terrell are often listed as the top 2 corners in this class, and that's Tennessee cornerback Jermod McCoy. Jermod McCoy is 6 feet tall, 193 pounds. with a supposed 40 time of 4.52. I think he's a little faster than that, but that's what they say in terms of expected times. Now, that said, what makes Jermod McCoy unique is that this guy was a dual sport athlete, and his other sport was track and field. He was a state champion jumper in the long jump and triple jump. He was a very explosive athlete, at least in theory. You do see some of it on tape. What makes this guy so good, though, Monty, is, I mean, besides the fact that he's big and strong and he's fast, is I feel like his instincts are top notch. I mean, he might have the best instincts in the class. He's agile, he's smooth, he transitions clean, he has fluid hips, he's got all like the traits you're looking for. But he plays a lot of off-man coverage and a lot of zone where he will sometimes even, like, I don't know if you saw this, but sometimes he'll even like show leverage that is enticing to quarterbacks, right? Like almost like he's playing at Rang. Like he baits quarterbacks constantly. You watch him, he baits a throw by showing like, I'm going to give you inside leverage here and let you take off. And he just explodes and click and closes so fast. And then he makes a play on the football. Like, he wants the football. That's his mentality.
He's the best zone coverage guy in this class, in my opinion.
There are guys who are so good in coverage, they don't want the ball thrown their way because they just erase people. And there are guys like this who want the football coming their way. Right, he's trying to bait that ball his way because he believes he can go and get it. And he really can. His ball skills are fantastic. He runs routes for receivers once he starts closing. Have you noticed that? Like, he can diagnose his routes and route combinations so quickly that he starts running the route for the receiver a lot of times. And like I said, his makeup speed, his explosiveness is top tier. His jumping ability does show up on tape, which I like to see. Right, some guys are track athletes, but it doesn't show up. He uses his jumping ability when he's closing on the football. He out leaps receivers constantly, and he's just great at contested catches that way. I mentioned he's a fluid guy. You know, he's a very smooth athlete. Zone coverage, as you mentioned, is outstanding. And he's a physical football player. Like, he's very, very physical, especially at the catch point. He's physical when he's trying to tackle people, maybe a little bit too physical sometimes, maybe not controlled. That does get into some of his negatives. He's not the best tackler in terms of technique. He's more of I want to run through you, knock you over with my shoulder kind of guy, and he will miss tackle sometimes. His physicality will get in the way of, I mean, this is going to be a problem in the NFL, I think, is he's a little grabby down the field, right? He will fight you, and he could get penalties at that, and that's something he has to work on. When he takes on bigger blockers, he sometimes does struggle to disengage despite his size. But overall, I mean, I think the criticism of him as a corner are minor. His coverage skills are top tier, especially if you're running a primary zone or match system. This guy has to be your top target. Overall, this guy is in my opinion, he was the best athlete of the guys who reviewed. He's a fluid athlete, outstanding ball skills, can play, I think, both zone and man, but in zone, he is truly elite. And this is a guy you get to try to bait the quarterback to throw the football, because he's going to try to be a ball hawk and get that football. That is his game. He is a ball skills turnover type player. I pulled up his numbers. Last year, he had I mean, he's really good. I mean, this year his coverage skills are crazy. Actually, I'm sorry. Last year his coverage skills are crazy. He's hurt. He tore his ACL in January, so he hasn't played. But he only allowed a 53.6 NFL quarterback rating, which is crazy good. He had 4 interceptions and 6 pass breakups. You know, I mean, just outstanding playing with ball skills, playing out of zone. I really like the guy. What did you think of McCoy?
I was a big fan of McCoy. Avieon Terrell did grade out better for me, but I had a tough time deciding who I really liked better after watching him. I mean, I think he was a guy who's just a fantastic coverage corner in both areas. I mean, I think you could argue he's the best man coverage corner in this draft, and I think you could argue he's the best zone coverage corner in this class. He is just a high level guy. I was actually looking at some of the splits they have on PFF from 2024 I'll see, I think I have it right here. Let's look. So number 12, he was number 12 in the country last year in his man coverage grade. For comparison, Travis Hunter was 9. And then I'm going to go to his zone. I know I'm not showing my screen, but I'll go to his zone coverage grade, and he was 12 again, and Travis Hunter was 11. This was a guy who was ranked among the top of the college football as a true sophomore in both zone and man coverage. Really, really good year, and it showed up on tape for him. The one issue here is, he's been hurt. He hasn't played all this year, and I don't know if he is going to play. I don't know if he should play at this point. Maybe you should just leave that 2024 tape as the last thing you saw, but even at Oregon State, he wasn't as good that season, but this was a guy who led the team in passes defended. This guy is a guy who immediately showed his ball skills after really just being a track guy when he went to Oregon State, then transferred home, went to Tennessee, showed his ball skills again, and then also added this elite coverage ability. I think this guy is a really impressive player. I think, he had issues at times in run defense. I saw him struggling to shed and get off of people. I think, that was probably one of my bigger complaints I saw of him. But overall, that, and he's just, this is a guy who had 9 penalties in 2024. Very, very grabby. Can get in trouble downfield. That's another thing to work on with him. But you can't teach his coverage abilities, and I don't think there's any way he's going to end up having 4.5 speed. I think this guy's clearly 4.4 or better.
He looks faster, right? But again, what's going to be interesting is, so he tears his ACL in January. The typical time frame for that to come back at best is 9 to 10 months. So that we're talking about maybe November. The football season is winding down. Like, does he even bother to try come back for like a bowl game or something? Probably not, I would say. I was trying to look up to see where he was in his recovery. He's already like working out and rehabbing with the team. But if I'm him, I'm probably taking the Derek Stingley approach here. If you remember, Stingley had the Liz Frank, didn't play his last year, still got drafted. What was he drafted? 3rd overall, whatever it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's, and there were questions about him. And even though what he did is he showed up and he ran, pre-draft, and he was fine. I think he ran at his pro day, if I'm not mistaken. I think all Terrell's going to have to do is basically work out prior to the draft. And as long as he works out well, he's probably a top 10 to 15 pick. I think he's probably in that range. I don't think he's going to be falling much further, because you can see a Pro Bowl corner in this guy really easily. Like, he projects out that way. And that should take us to our grade. So, size, speed, and quickness, we both gave him a 4. I don't buy that 4-5 time that's listed. Strength, 4 for both of us. Man coverage skills, 4 for both of us. Zone coverage, 4. I could have given him a 5 here, honestly, in zone, because he's so freaking good. But again, sometimes it's hard to give 5s. Ball skills, 4 for both of us. Run support, 3 for both of us. I'm assuming this is mainly based on he gets there sometimes, but I think his tackling can be a little subpar. Right?
Yeah, he gets the job done. He just needs to improve his he doesn't have a ton of missed tackles. He just bad form.
We both give him a 2 in blitzing. He doesn't do a lot of it. That's why I give him 2.
He has no blitzing really experience.
But he's such again, remember, he's a state champion in long jump. And in what was the other one? The other jump, in broad jump. He's explosive. So I have very little doubt that if they asked him to come downhill, that he would be super quick off the line of scrimmage and blitz and get there, but we just don't see it. Instincts, you gave him a 3. I gave him a 4. I really loved his instincts, and I'm basing that mostly off the way he baits quarterbacks and he diagnoses routes. Overall, though, we graded him really highly. Overall, it's 3.56. I had him at 3.62. I think you had him at 3.5. Similar to Terrell, I think we both see these guys as high impact corners right away at the next level. And probably guys who have the chance to be kind of perennial Pro Bowl caliber type corners. Would you agree?
Yes, I think that. I'm really excited. This is a position group we waited on, Sal, because we know this might be a position of need for us. And I'm very happy that the 2 guys we've talked about so far, I would feel comfortable taking in the first round.
I felt comfortable, comping Terrell to a guy like Witherspoon. I had a harder time comping McCoy. Did you think about that at all?
Maybe like a Denzel Ward.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Physical, talented, athletic, very good in zone.
Good ball skills.
Good ball skills. Yeah, I can see that.
I'd have
Such a good player.
About it more, but
yeah. I am going to think about it more. I'm going to try to find my comp on him. But really good player, and I think easily could have been CB1 for us. We just kind of flipped a coin here, essentially.
Yeah.
All right. How about we go to number 3?
Yeah, so let's to the next guy. This is the last one from the big 3 kind of here, and that's Mansoor Delane from LSU. If anybody watched our cornerback review from last year, you might remember this was a guy that Sal reviewed for us, and he was out of Virginia Tech at the time.
My
And
sleeper, I thought, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was. I didn't. We both picked somebody. I had Maxwell Harrison, and you had Mansoor Delane, and Delane went back to school, and Maxwell Harrison rose way up the board and ended up being a first round pick. But here's Delane. A year later, he looks like he's doing the same thing. So, a really interesting player. Arguably the best player in the best corner in the country right now with production wise. 6 foot, 190 pounds. Again, he's a senior. So, let's get into some of my thoughts at him. I say he was a physical press corner. He uses his hands effectively at the line of scrimmage to disrupt releases and reroute receivers. There's excellent mirror ability in man coverage, stays square and keeps himself in phase with the wideouts through the route stem. I think he's a guy who really thrives at the line of scrimmage. Despite, again, another kind of lighter guy, but I think he's really physical there. And this isn't like, we'll get into it. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but I think he mirrors well and he uses physicality that, when he can keep himself in front, which he's really good at doing, keeping himself in front of a guy, he can really succeed. Fluid hips, clean transitions out of his back pedal, allowing him to flip and run without wasting motion. A really high IQ defender who shows strong pattern recognition, anticipates route combinations before they even develop. I saw him do that many times in man and zone coverage where he really just read it and it was there before they even knew. Reads the quarterback's eyes and displays natural spatial awareness, both man and zone coverage. You constantly see his eyes in the backfield, reading what the quarterback's doing. He has a really good feel for spatial awareness and coverage. Strong tackler, is willing to support and reliable in space. Technically sound and disciplined with leverage and hand placement. Versatile defensive back. So not just a versatile cornerback, versatile defensive back. They kind of play this guy all over. They have this guy playing even some safety at a time. They have really do everything with him. You'll play slot, you'll play outside. He's a versatile guy. Good timing at the catch point, competes to the receiver's hand and contests throws without drawing flags, and processes plays quickly, showing strong mental trigger and reaction speed. The cons I had: he's slim frame, lacks the ideal bulk and play strength, consistently hold up against bigger boundary targets. Average long speed, can be vulnerable to vertical routes and deep crossers if left on an island. Doesn't always show top end bursts or recovery gear to close separation once beaten, and fundamentally clean, but lacks a true wow trait is kind of what I said. More steady and dependable than a dynamic cornerback.
Yep. I think you got it all. I think Delane is I feel like he's such a safe pick, right? I think he's a very high floor cornerback. He does everything well, as you mentioned. He can play all over the field. He is a very instinctive cornerback. He's good in press. He can play zone. He's good in run support. He does everything pretty well. Where I struggle to place him is I don't know if he has like the high end traits and speed to be like a top tier first round caliber type corner, right? That's the only thing I'm struggling with him.
If he's not, if he gets routed up, like he's really good at like not letting people, like he just constantly mirrors and keeps his body from him. But if he's not playing up on the line of scrimmage, he's playing like off man. I don't feel good with him in off man. I feel like he's.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be asked to run with some of the better receivers. Let's just say we drafted him, right? And he's asked to run with a guy like Devontae Smith. I can see Devontae Smith giving him fits because Devontae Smith is an elite route runner, and his speed is just going to, he's just going to glide away from him. And I don't know if he could keep up with him, right? And that's where I struggle with him. Whereas I have no concerns like that with McCoy, for example, where I think McCoy will catch anybody. And to be honest, with Terrell too, I think Terrell is going to run with everybody. It's just that's the only thing I struggle with. They do, and I feel like if Delane gets beat, he's beat, right? And his best attribute is playing pressed up. So, if he loses at the line of scrimmage, that's just a concern I have. It's somewhat hypothetical this year because he's been just freaking elite. He's about as good as any corner in the country in coverage right now. Like, he's given up nothing. I pulled up his stats. I mean, it's ridiculous. Listen at these numbers. His defensive grade overall, 90.2. Coverage grade, 89.7. That's like number 2 in the country. We'll go over we didn't get tape on number 1, which is the only reason we didn't go over him. 25 tackles, 1 interception, 7 pass breakups, giving up no touchdowns. His quarterback rating, NFL quarterback rating against him, 28.8.
Insane.
Lockdown. Complete lockdown. He's playing almost all his snaps on the outside, right? He can play on the inside. They use him at safety a little bit, but in the past, he's played more box and safety and stuff like when he was back at Virginia Tech. But, he's doing this on the outside in the SEC. He's doing a great job. So maybe my concerns are just hypothetical. Maybe they're just like, I don't think he's fast enough, and I'm concerned. This was, in many ways, the way I felt about I know who I want to comp him to. He reminds me a lot of Max Melton coming out. Do you remember?
Like, he was a surprisingly good athlete though when he got to the combine.
Well, and that's the thing, right? But did Max Melton strike you as like this elite athlete when you watched his tape?
No, he didn't.
Right. And he's a good football player, and I think the concerns about his speed and athleticism just fizzled away at the combine, and he went at the top of the second round, right? So like I can see if he tests better than I think he'll test, I don't think anybody's gonna have an issue. I'm just saying on tape, I don't see that kind of speed.
Yeah, I agree.
He's instinctive. He's more instinctive, I think DK put in the chat. He's just a football player. Like, he's really good at everything. He's very instinctive, does everything well. There's just some of the elite traits on the high end are there. I'm not saying they're not there. I just don't see them regularly and consistently. So it's my only real question mark. Let's go into his grades. So He graded pretty well for us. I mean, speed, I think you and I felt the same way. We gave him a 3. We think he's adequate. He's average.
Yeah,
I don't
can get it done.
Above average. Strength and press, he's awesome there. Gets a 4 from both of us. Man coverage, we gave him a 3. I could have given him a 4 for the way he's performing this year, but I did give him a 3 there. I gave him a 4 in zone. I liked his instincts in zone more.
Yeah, he's like, if press man, like, we already gave him the 4 for press, so I'm not giving that. And then I'm just playing man. Like, there's some ideas where he mirrors really well, but again, like, if you put him off, I don't feel good with his makeup speed and his ability to like run with guys.
Right. I think we might be a little outlier here on our view here, but it's just, I think I felt the same way watching him. So I agree with you. Ball skills 4, run. Both of us have the same grades here all across the board. Run support 3. I think he's very good at it. I think his size will interfere a little bit in him taking on bigger guys, but he's pretty solid at it. Blitzing, I didn't see a ton of it, but when he did it, he was fine. But I think we both gave him a 3. But his instincts, we gave him a 4. I could have given him a 5 here. I think that's like his superpower. And I'm kind of, what, I'm going to change it to a 5 because I do think instincts are kind of his superpower, and I think he actually deserves credit for that. So I'll change his grade a little bit. But overall, like, this is a solid corner. I think he's going to go in the first round. Right. I'd be surprised if Mansoor Delane did not get taken in the first round, barring injury or a poor combine performance. Again, if there's anything to watch, he's a guy that I'm kind of paying attention to at the combine to see what he does in terms of speed. I know you shouldn't base it off that, but I think it's actually going to matter for him.
So here's a lazy comp because it's the same school. What about like a Trey White? That was a guy who wasn't like seen as like the most athletic guy coming out of school, but he was kind of day one ready.
No, I can see it. By the way, we should give him credit for going to LSU. I think we didn't really talk about that.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
So he was already viewed as a good corner. He had a chance to enter the draft and be a mid-round pick last year. He decides to go back and go to train under Corey Raymond. And for those who don't know, like, Corey Raymond is a secondary coach out there. He is the Brian Hartline of defensive backs, right? In college football, as far as I'm concerned. He's the guy who trains up all of these players, right? Who come out of DBU over there. He decided, I'm going to go there. I'm going to compete for a job, and I'm going to earn my way into a higher draft spot. And he's become a better corner with that teaching, right? So that's, to me, one, that speaks to character and commitment to his craft, and two, that also speaks to me to the coachability of a player like that. And those are things that we don't know watching tape, but just those actions speak volumes for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if people just fall in love with him on that basis. Plus, he's super productive, and he's showing that he's taking what he's learned and putting it on the field.
Yeah, it's a great point, because he could have came out last year and he would have been drafted at worst early day 3. And he could have stayed at Virginia Tech, but instead he went to a crowded DB room and wanted to go under a good coach and try to compete for a national championship. I know it didn't work out how he expected from that point, but
It's worked out for him, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep, did work out for him.
All right, let's go to number 4.
Let's do it.
Where is he?
To the bottom.
Okay. All right. So number 4 is a late addition. This was suggested by our friend Ask Seven, and he knows who we're talking about. And you should know who I'm talking about by now, because Ask is a huge Ohio State fan. Our number 4 on this list is Ohio State Buckeye cornerback Jermaine Mathews Jr. 5'11", 190 pounds, junior. He was a former 4-star recruit. Jermaine Mathews is a really interesting prospect. He's another one of these guys, like a super instinctive zone corner with really, really excellent diagnostic ability, instincts, spatial awareness, just a good feel for what's going on in front of him. He can diagnose routes very well and knows how to click and close nicely. He's always got his eyes in the backfield, always watching the quarterback to make a play on the football, and that's his game. He stays back and he closes quickly. His recovery speed is, I would say, elite. He can play trail technique, he can play off man, and he can always catch up to guys and close quickly. His ball skills are very good. He has excellent timing, breaks up passes consistently. He's versatile, like some of the other guys you mentioned. He can play all over on the boundary, in the slot. You can use him as almost, I've seen him in some reps used almost like a safety. They move him around. Ohio State does. And they play all zone, right? So you kind of have to like take some of this with a grain of salt, because they play so much zone that you have to extrapolate some of the other abilities. But I feel like his physical abilities are obvious. His traits are obvious. And I think it will translate well to man. But he is versatile. He's a very physical football player. He's competitive at the catch point. And his instincts are just outstanding. I think that's another guy with really outstanding instincts, outstanding in zone. I think you can project the man. But along those lines, one of the cons is we don't know how good he's going to be consistently in man coverage, because they don't do it. They don't ask him to do it, and we just don't know how he's going to do in consistent man coverage plays. Ohio State just does not ask him to do that. Not only is he in zone, I don't know if you notices, Monty, but he plays so far off the line of scrimmage.
Oh yeah, he plays like a box safety.
It reminded me of when we were watching Drew Phillips. Do you remember that? Drew Phillips was playing like 12 yards off the line of scrimmage on every play. And we're like, what are they doing over there in Kentucky? But like, we just don't know what he can do in true like press man, for example, on a consistent basis. But he has the speed, and you can see it on tape, right? But it's a negative against him. You don't know enough right now. And if you don't see it, you don't know if he can do it. His technique does get a little bit sloppy. Unlike McCoy, I think when he is showing leverage that is favorable for the quarterback, so I actually think that's a mistake a lot of times on his part, whereas McCoy's baiting, I think he sometimes will lose position. I don't think he has the best frame. Like I mentioned, he's a little undersized for the way he plays, because he's a very physical player. He does just need to get more technique work in and develop. But at the end of the day, what you have here is a guy who his floor and his starting point is a really, really instinctive, outstanding, and explosive athlete playing zone corner at a high level with good ball skills. And I think he has projectable traits where you can assume that he's going to develop into a very good man corner. And that's why I put him on the list here. What did you think about him when you watched him?
I thought he was an interesting player. I think he's a really good zone corner. I think he showed a lot of instinctives there, as you were talking about. I loved how he really just read the quarterback's eyes. Very good at that, and very good at jumping balls. He has that makeup speed 100%, as you mentioned. And you see it really on deep routes too, where he can kind of play low, and when that deep ball gets unleashed, he can catch up to it and he can get back and make a play on the ball. But yeah, as you mentioned, like some of the negatives, you did not see him play a lot of man coverage. And the little I did see, I felt like he looked uncomfortable matching, especially with kind of the more refined route runners. I said his technique's sloppy, sometimes false steps out of his back pedal, occasional loss of balance through transitions. Frame needs to get better. Tackling techniques refinement, just overall, I think needs to get a little bit better in run defense. I think he's a guy, in my opinion, who should go back to school. I think he's a guy who got started, get some reps last year, has really come more in himself this year. But I think one more year of college could do him a lot of good. And he's a young guy. I don't think there's any shame in that. I think more guys are staying in college. I think another year could help him a lot.
It's interesting you mentioned that because he's not a guy that doesn't have experience in school. Like this is his third year and he's been starting essentially the whole time. So like it's his third year at Ohio State. He got a lot of reps, his first year, not a full-time starter, but tons of reps the last 2 years. I mean, this is, he's kind of where the guy should be coming out. He should be ready, especially playing at Ohio State. You'd expect him to be ready to come out. It's interesting. I don't think he's going back to school personally, because I think, again, DK keeps mentioning in the chat, there is a clear lack of talent at the cornerback position across the NFL. You and I have this debate all the time where I give shit to Drew Phillips sometimes, and you're like, that's just how corners are. And you're right. Corner play is very inconsistent. I think when there is that kind of inconsistency and lack of talent, a guy like him with the physical traits that he has is going to go a lot higher than I think you think he's going to go. And I can see him being a second-round pick. I mean, could he have a great combine and be one of these late risers to the first round? Yes. Like I think he looks like he has that kind of athletic ability. I don't think he's a round one player. I agree with people who were saying that. But remember, like traits matter. Traits matter a lot, and there is a lack of talent at this position. These corners are always in huge demand early in the draft. First round, early second round. These guys, they often go a lot earlier than you think. And I just feel like he's going to declare. I'm going to guess he's going to declare, and he's going to go higher than you think right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see if he declares. We'll see what he runs at the combine. And, that type of thing can definitely raise up his stock for sure.
Exactly. But he's an interesting player to go over. I wish we could see more man coverage from him because I feel like if Ohio State allowed him to play man, I feel like he has the physical traits where he'd be really good in it on a regular basis. And if you saw him do what he does in zone and you saw him really be outstanding in man, which I think he could be, I'd feel a lot better about this,
We need the tape that those bastards are holding from themselves, the professionals, where they can just every man rep, every zone rep, every pass rush rep.
It makes their life a lot easier.
Yeah,
rather than sifting through entire game
to do it.
For those who don't know, if you ever want to get into watching all 22 the standard way like we do, don't do it unless you have a chronic case of severe insomnia. Watching all 22 is the way we get it, is just like watching it's like a silent film, just that goes on and on and on for like 30 to 40 minutes. And you have to like just pinpoint the player. And they often are highlighted, but he's got to keep watching every rep. You got to watch and you got to stop it and say, okay, what are they running here? What's the play design? Trying to figure out what their assignment is. Then you got to watch little things about how they perform. It takes a while to go through a game when you're trying to do it correctly for a player. And it's just not broken down the way like some of these professional things are, right? Like you mentioned, man reps, zone reps, high leverage reps, third down reps. It's just so easy to click through them really fast. And we don't have that.
Yeah.
Because we're not important, but that's okay. Anyway, D-Kid, if you have that, send it to us. But we don't. Anyway, I like him. I think he's a solid CB4 right now, the way we're looking at it, but we'll see how he does. He's another one to watch at the combine.
Definitely.
All right. You want to go through number 5 here? We'll do our final player that we're reviewing. And I do want to mention somebody at the end of this, but this is the last one that we reviewed together for the sake of the show.
Did we do his grades? Am I just blanking?
I know I graded him.
No, I mean, did we read out?
Oh, Mathews? No, we didn't. I'm so sorry. All right. I'll go through it really quickly. Speed and quickness, we both see it. He gets a 4 from both of us. Strength and and press, you gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. I know why you gave it to him, because you don't get to see him do it. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here because I
He
think he's a
also has
very
kind of a
physical.
lighter frame.
That's fair. Man coverage, you gave same thing. You gave him a 2. I gave him a 2. You just don't see it enough. I think he could be a 4 here easily. I don't see it. Zone coverage, we gave him a 4. I'm sorry, were you going to say something there?
No, I said we'll see.
Yeah. Ball skills, you gave him a 3. I gave him a 4. I really like his ball skills. I like how competitive he is at the catch point. Run support, I gave him a 3. You gave him a 2. Tell me why you gave him a 2 here. I'm a little curious about that part.
Yeah, I just didn't see a great run defender. I saw a guy who wasn't involved as often as he should be. I didn't see a great tackler. I just overall wasn't that impressed.
Okay. Blitzing, we both gave him a 3. He does it enough where you can tell he's good at it. Instincts, we both gave him a 4. I think he has outstanding instincts. So overall, came in just over 3. I have him at a 3.3. You had him at a 3. Slightly above average player. And I think that's a fair projection, that I think depending on where he lands, he's probably an average NFL corner, maybe a little bit better than that.
Yep.
All right.
Let's
go to the last guy here.
Yeah, let's get into the last guy. Pull him up. This was a guy that was ranked on Dane Brugler's top big board. So I believe he did his top 50, and I believe he was ranked 32 or something like that. Will Lee out of Texas A&M, 6'1", 189 pounds, so slimmer, but kind of a taller build guy. And so let me kind of get into some of the thoughts I had on him. I thought he's a physical press corner who uses his size and strength to jam receivers and disrupt timing at the line of scrimmage. Strong presence and run support, shows willingness to come downhill, take on blocks, and tackle through contact. Sound tackler, wrap-up technique, and physical finish. Good length that allows him to contest throws at the catch point and close windows on taller receivers. I thought he had disciplined footwork at the line of scrimmage, to the back pedal when in phase, and displays good ball skills, tracking and attacking the ball when given opportunities. Now let's get into the negatives, because I had a lot on this guy. I thought he lacks long speed, leaving him vulnerable against vertical and deep crossers when isolated. I definitely saw some stiffness in his hips, limiting him ability to flip and transition clearly in man coverage. Gives way too much cushion inside, often allowing easy slants and breaking. I felt like he was just really just allowing these guys cushions in kind of all areas. I mean, some of that I think was the stiffness in his hips, but it felt like every route he just kind of let these guys get distance on him, which I don't know. It made me really uncomfortable watching him. Strong struggles in zone coverage, just poor route anticipation, delayed reactions, quarterbacks cues, lack spatial awareness, frequently losing track of route combinations and zone landmarks, inconsistent backfield processing, too often caught with the receiver on run plays or misleading play fakes. I saw often this guy, there would be it wasn't even a play fake. It would just be a run play, and he's just sprinting with the wide receiver downfield. He does that multiple times a game. I don't know what's going on there. Wide receivers constantly generate separation, particularly at the top of routes where change of direction and quickness is tested. Angled pursuit instincts in the run game can be erratic despite the physical effort. So overall, I just did not really like what I saw from Will Lee. I don't get the top 50 hype. I see some of it where I see him as a draftable wide receiver, a guy to work with, but I see a guy who's a lot of issues. What were your thoughts?
I hated every part of this guy. So you got into a lot of it, right? He's physically imposing, right? And you watch him, he's a big dude. I mean, he's somewhere between, I don't know, depending on what you trust in terms of a listing, somewhere between 6'1" and 6'3". I'm gonna say he's 6'2". It just splits the middle, something like that, right? He's a big physical dude. If you line him up next to the other guys reviewed, he's gonna look massive next to everybody else, right? There's a lot of that, and I think his 40 time, everything that's projected, there's gonna be a lot of Juju Brents, physical comparisons to this guy, but there's a difference in play style. Brents was physical, but he was a fairly disciplined player in college. He went to K-State also, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to K-State.
This guy, yeah, didn't this guy? He was at K-State for a year too. This guy
Was he? I'm
this
not
year.
sure.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was, and then he transferred to. He transferred eventually to A&M. But so there's some comps there, and I wonder if that's like a prototype, that they go and get guys like
Yeah, he
this.
was. You're right.
You mentioned all the negatives in coverage where he just gives up too much space. People can run by him. What bothered me the most about him, though, is I don't think people run by him because he can't run with them. I think he just kind of lets them go. And I don't know what he thinks he's doing over there. Right. I feel like sometimes he's baiting. Sometimes I'm watching him like, is he baiting them? Is he baiting the throw from the quarterback? But then he doesn't make up the play. There were several plays I saw that were clearly zone responsibilities, and he just missed assignments over and over and over again. Like there were plays I saw where he just like there was confusion on his side, and usually it looks like he's the culprit. Like he's supposed to be covering the deep third, and he just loses. He just runs to the flat, and then all of a sudden somebody's open behind him. I saw that a lot with him. But what I hated the most about I shouldn't say hate, he's a kid. What I disliked the most was if the ball wasn't thrown his way, he pretty much, and I counted, he dogged every play.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. Like he has no interest in running to the football, like none. I don't care if he's on one end of the field and the ball's thrown to the other side. You want to see your defensive players start to move towards the player in case they have to make a tackle. Yeah. He doesn't do that. He walks over. And even on plays that are like thrown in the middle of the field and he's on the sideline, he will just stare at it and not get there. And then before you know it, the ball carrier is coming his way and he can't get there. And when he has to tackle somebody, I saw him get bullied. I saw this guy get, for his size, right? I can't believe how easily the dude was blocked out of plays, tossed to the side. No interest in using his physicality in tackling and run support and getting to the ball carrier. I mean, I just kept getting flashbacks of Deontay Banks dogging it with Jerome Henderson screaming at him, right? That's what I kept seeing in my head with this guy. Like all the worst elements of Deontay Banks' play are on full display, like constantly in this guy's film. So we watched him because he's getting reviews as a projectable athlete that people want to take, but I wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole.
I'll have to go back and look for it. What you're talking about. I mean, I feel like I see that with a lot of corners where if it's not on their side of the field, they kind of just, I see a lot of them dogging it, but I'll have to go look and look in more detail. But yeah, man, I mean, there's like certain parts about him I liked. I thought he had really good footwork. But the hips were so stiff, it like took away from it. But yeah, not a fan of him.
Yeah. I see people in the chat saying this is a K-State thing Rad wrote. You could put that up if you want. Rad, who knows some coaches in the world. This is a prototype for KSU. I met their CB coach at an event once, and he talked about the position minimum. So yeah, makes sense to me that he looks physically like Juju Brents. He doesn't play like him in college. I don't like questioning people's attitude or their commitment, but I questioned it watching him, and I personally I don't want players like this on my team. If he watches this, I'm sorry, but that's what I say.
All right.
Anyway, that's our 5. So, interesting group, some real high-end guys. I should mention one guy, Monty.
Well,
that we
hang
just
on,
did
Sal.
not.
You're not going through the numbers again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to. I thought I was done with this shit with this guy. All right, let's go through the numbers. Sorry. Let me pull up his numbers. All right. He graded like shit for us. Look at this. Speed and quickness. I did give him a 3. You gave him a 2. I gave him some credit for his athleticism.
Yeah, I thought the long speed lacked, and I thought it was really stiff.
Strength and pass in press, we both give him a 4. That's probably his best trait as a coverage defender. Man coverage, he was okay. We both gave him a 3. Zone coverage, you gave him a 3. We both gave him a 2.
Yep.
Really bad in zone. Ball skills, 4. That's a good trait of his.
All
when
these
he gets there.
Good ball skills, all of them.
Yeah, and that matters, right? Like that's something you can work with. Run support, you gave him a 3. I wanted to give him a 0, but I gave him a 2 because I'm not a terrible person. You may all think I'm a terrible person. I can be a terrible person, but when I have a soft spot for kids, even if I shit talk them for 5 minutes on our pod, I have a hard time putting a number down that's painful.
That I thought he was physical. I thought he was a pretty physical player.
Blitzing, didn't see much of it, and whatever I did, I didn't see him do much with it. 2 instincts, 2. We both had 2s. Overall graded out as a 2.75 for both of us. A below average NFL corner.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we were. Now I want to transition just a little bit here and talk about a guy who, I mean, we need to talk about this guy, Monty, because what he's doing in a smaller school is bananas. Okay. And I'm going to pull up his stats. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah. So we just didn't have film on him, so we couldn't in good faith review him. Everybody we review, we try to get actual game film and go through as much of it as we possibly can. But the kid who is grading out as the top corner overall in college football this year is a kid at San Diego State. You may or may not have heard of him, Chris Johnson. It is fascinating what this guy is doing. I've seen clips of him, and he looks really good. He was a 3-star recruit. He is a big kid, 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, but he looks a lot stronger than that. His projected 40 time is about a 4.5, but he looks a lot faster than that on tape. His coverage grades this year, dude, look at these numbers. His overall defensive grade compared to all corners, at least 290 snaps in college this year, 91.0, number 1 in the country. His coverage grade, 91.3, number 1 in the country. His tackling grade, 82. His run defense grade, 75. He has 10 run stops, 1 forced fumble. He's got 4 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and listen to this number. He has a QBR, NFL QBR allowed of 16.4.
And keep in mind, that's not passer rating. That's the one that goes up to like 160.
Right. 16.4. So I've seen the highlights. I've seen whatever I could, and he looks outstanding. But we don't have game film, so we couldn't, in good faith, put him in the 5 list. But as soon as we get it, I want to watch this guy.
Yeah.
Because this is, remember when you were the first person to mention in all of these Twitter streets, you were the first person to mention Quinyon Mitchell 2 years ago. You deserve your credit for that, right? And the way you found him was he was 1 on the freak list, and 2, he was grading out as a top corner in the country. And you're like, who the hell is this guy? And we watched him, like, holy shit, he's good, right? And now he looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I want to see this guy. I'm not saying he's going to be Quinyon Mitchell, but like I can't ignore some of these metrics.
You want this to be your Quinyon Mitchell?
Well, I want to see what he is. Right?
Yeah, so, no, I do too.
For what it's worth, when you watch the games, like the regular games, he makes plays and you can see that, but I just don't have the game film.
And you need it for cornerbacks.
Yeah, you need to see what he's doing. So it's an incomplete, but a person worth paying attention to. I mean, look at these grades. It's ridiculous. Right? Look at that shit. And look at his best game. It's against Cal. It was against a real team. By the way, the Cal quarterback has been incredible this year. The kid who took over for Mendoza. I mean, and he terrorized him in that game. That was the game I pulled up whatever I could. So Chris Johnson, keep him on your radar. I don't know if anybody's actually watched him here, but worth paying attention to. Anyway, we're going to see. This is definitely a guy that we're going to see if we get more game film, and if we can get some, if we get some sort of like comparisons when you get to the Senior Bowl or wherever, see how he does. But there's got to be something there, and I just got to watch the game film when we get it. Anyway, so that's actually 6 guys. Although we didn't really review this last guy.
Yeah.
So that's a position. It's a good position. Let's get into some games coming up this weekend.
Definitely.
All right. Thursday night, ain't shit happening. Marshall at Coastal Carolina, if that's your bag. Friday night, Memphis at Rice. North Carolina at Syracuse, if you're if you're a doom watcher for Bill Belichick's end. I'll probably be doing something better than that on Friday. But like trick or treating. Saturday, here's a game that was supposed to be the game.
Supposed to be.
Penn State at number 1 Ohio State. Penn State is in the shitter right now. They are 20.5-point underdogs to Ohio State going in. I'm not watching that. But the game that's worth watching is number 9 Vanderbilt at number 20 Texas. And listen to this. Texas is favored by 2.5 at home. I'm actually surprised they're favored.
Mm-hmm. They're home, I guess, but yeah.
Vanderbilt is looking awesome. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't win this game, actually.
I would take Vanderbilt. I might bet on
that. Just going down the line here, there's some interesting games. I'm looking for one that is really
don't
worth
talk
watching.
About West Virginia. Just keep that moving.
Keep it going. Keep it going. Indiana and Maryland should be fun. So Indiana is a number 2 team in the country. This is a 3:30 game. I mean, they're serious national title contenders. Fernando Mendoza having a great year. Kirk Cignetti, clearly the best coach in college football at this point, playing out of their minds. Maryland, though, is not a pushover. You know, they should beat Maryland. They're a much better team than Maryland. I don't expect them to lose, but Maryland has one wild card factor worth paying attention to if you haven't learned it already. Their rookie quarterback, their true freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, is must-see TV. So if you want to see a good game from a great team versus an electric young quarterback, that Indiana Maryland game at 3:30 is worth watching. What else we got here? You see anything?
I don't. Is there a chance that Florida could upset Georgia since they're playing at home? They beat Alabama. Could be a game to watch. I'm not seeing a lot of great games. You have
Oklahoma, Tennessee.
Yep, that's the one to watch. Seemingly here, 3.5-point game, 18 versus 14. That's probably game of the week right there. You also have Cincinnati at Utah. Utah's favored by 10.5, but it's the 17 versus the 24.
Where the hell is this? Oh, here we go. Wyoming at San Diego State, 7:00. I got to find this game because I want to see Chris Johnson. But yeah, I mean, those are the games. It should be fun. Some interesting matchups, more to just see the prospects, but no major powerhouses going at it. All right. You got anything else before we close the sucker out?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys as always. Remember to like and subscribe. For those of you who are here, please like and subscribe and retweet us. Try to get us up to the 1,000 subs. It takes us to the next level of the algorithm. We're getting closer, but we want to get there on YouTube. You can follow us at He's a Giant Pod. You can find me at Queens_guy. Find Monty at MONTECRI5TO. Giants have a big matchup where their season essentially could die against the Niners, or they can show some signs of life. We'll see what happens. But until we go over the next position group a week from now, let's go Giants.
Go Giants. Go Jackson Dart.